Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Tina Peters was released from prison yesterday, thanks to clemency from Democratic Governor Jared Polis, and she immediately returned to her claims that Democrats are cheating on elections, that she was put in prison as retribution for finding evidence that voting machines flip votes. So first off, I'll ask each of you to answer just in yes or no format. Is Tina Peters telling the truth when she says that Democrats have rigged elections in Colorado using voting machines to flip votes? Ms. Kirkmeyer?
No, I don't believe so.
Mr. Bottoms?
Yes.
Mr. Marx?
Well, it's her word against everyone else.
It's her word against everyone else, not the 4 reports that were built or the massive amount of election fraud evidence that we have across the entire country. You can't go on X right now without getting inundated with stuff from the Skiff, from Roberts, from you name it. If you want to see election fraud information related to the election fraud, you'll see it everywhere. I did a deposition earlier today, and I got to talk a little bit about that, election fraud. And the implications, this is for a lawsuit of a prominent journalist being sued. And I got to walk through all this information today, and I kind of had PTSD. The left, all they have is there's nothing to see here. Barb Kirkmeyer, I had a great sit down with her. I'm telling you right now, in that great sit down that I had with her, she was not that the elections are good. And the flip-flopping that happens in elections, and you have Victor Marx saying, I don't even know what that is, word salad. Well, it's her word against everyone else. It's not everyone else. Over 70% of the people in the United States believe the elections are largely fraudulent in all 50 states, period. It's not up for debate. And no amount of gaslighting or the use of the mainstream media to abuse it as a bully pulpit to hurt people. But let me just tell you about the Colorado debate yesterday with Scott Bottoms, Barb Kirkmeyer, and Victor Marx. It was a setup. It was a setup. The whole thing was a setup. There was nothing legitimate about that debate. The questions were asked. We have Scott Bottoms in studio with me today. And frankly, they had to talk about me. They had to talk about me. I'm not running for governor, but they still have to talk about me. No matter what, they still have to talk about me. You want to know why? I'm credible. Not uncredible, I am credible. And you could say that I get upset. You could say I get angry. I don't. I'm a very passionate person about the people in my state and the people in my country, my fellow Americans. And as I did yesterday, and I walked through that model, super important that we talk about truth and we get to the bottom of it and we work on the things that are important to the American people. Tina Peters was sentenced to 9.5 years in prison while other Democrats were given probation, community service. That's not an equal system. That is a system designed for the haves and the have-nots, where the rule of law sits just below everyone that they want to have as they stack the millstones on the chests of the American people. And it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, or independents, they get to pick winners and losers. A system of persecution, not prosecution. That's the problem we have in Colorado, is that we are captured by village idiots like Marshall Mathers, the little Urkel guy, the white Urkel, and Kyle Antifa Clark. We're gonna talk to you about some of the things that went on yesterday, and we're gonna do a recap on the debate. And then I'm gonna ask some serious questions of Scott, but first I wanna get his thoughts on the debate and truly how he felt about what they did. So Scott, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you as always, Joe. Love to be here. So the debate, in a general sense, it was obvious that I was asked big questions that there's no way I could have time to answer. There's no way I could, and even on some of the fraud and corruption stuff, I started to answer and it got too close for Kyle. So He immediately interrupted me and then just said, well, that's just, and he literally says, well, that's only 2.75 million of corruption.
He tried to debate you in the middle of a debate where he's supposed to ask a question and fairly let you answer.
Well, and because of the debate with at Colorado Christian University where Brown was he just overrode me, just spoke over me, interrupted me, argued with me. So beforehand, Kyle sat with the three of us and said, you know, if you've got if you answer a question, you want to come back, raise your hand, we'll come back to you. If you feel like you don't have enough time, we just want to make sure we get the information out. You're not debating me, I'm just a moderator. You're debating each other. And then, probably half the questions he asked me, he was debating me. I wasn't there to argue with Kyle. I was there to tell the people who I am, what I believe.
So, I mean, and we had an opportunity to have like a coaching moment here before, and I was like, listen, just walk past the stupid questions, right?
Right.
And you already came to that conclusion, right? But
yeah, it's difficult in the moment when you're asked a question and you know the information, you know what needs to be said about this, but you realize they have no intention of you answering that question. That was never the case. That's why at one point I just went after him on the sheriff's thing where he contacted every single sheriff in every county. And I just said, nope, we've talked to other sheriffs, you're lying.
He is lying.
Because he was trying to say he said this or didn't say this. And that's one of the moments when the entire crowd said, you just said that, He wasn't ready for that. I didn't get to his question because he didn't intend for me to get to his question. But I did confront him on, he's a liar. He just makes stuff up.
Well, I mean, him and Marshall Mathers, I call him Marshall Mathers just because, he's like the stick figure Urkel Eminem guy.
Okay.
Look, I'm not a fan of 9 News. I think that it has done the most damage in the state. But let me, overall though, I think you did fine, given that you were in hostile territory. People were looking for you to react differently. They were looking for you to take those big punches. Now, I just got a video, and I was like, we need to do another debate. There needs to be another debate. All 3 of you on the stage, we're going to ask serious questions.
Yeah, Victor Marx won't come to anything else. He was so embarrassing and just, I think he was humiliated because he didn't know anything. There's one time, I don't know if this was on camera, he's standing right next to me, obviously, and he just put his head in his hands and sat there on the podium just rubbing his face, and you could tell he was miserable being there. It was exposing the fact he knows nothing, and he can't even communicate. He's not even a good communicator.
Yeah, well, I think that whoever decided to put Victor Marx up there watched too many stories and used to be a big fan of Star Wars.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was watching, so from my angle, I was watching Roger Hudson, who I think Roger had prepped him. Obviously his team had worked with him, tried to give him answers, tried to give him information. And he gave those 2 talking points like right out of the gate, and he had nothing else. And I'm looking right past him toward Roger Hudson, and who I think he's his campaign manager. He does something like that. And you could tell Roger was miserable. He knew this was a crash and burn right in front of his eyes moment. But he had enough confidence that he could put Victor up there, and he made a major mistake.
Well, he made a major mistake because, and I think that I'm rethinking what I think about Victor Marx, by the way. I don't think he could be governor at all. I don't think he should run for any public office. Matter of fact, I think by putting him up there, it shows the same disservice and the same amount of disrespect for Victor Marx as it showed for Joe Biden.
Exactly.
Like, they don't have the capabilities to get across the finish line, and by putting him up there, you're basically trying to disavow or sully the name of all Republicans. And this has been historically the problem, is that Democrats can put up a candidate that literally can't fog a mirror. And Republicans go and answer questions, and they put someone up that looks silly. And the people that are the most brutal on the silliness is Republicans, which then doesn't do us any favors. Right. While the Republicans or Democrats are like, oh, isn't he such a good candidate? He's such a good candidate. Look at him. He's a mirror fogger.
Yeah, this is, so I really was. We went out to dinner afterwards, our team and some other people, and And we were talking about this, and everybody is basically saying the same thing, that it appears that he was put up there to fail, that he is trying to pull down the entire Republican party in the process, that there was no intention of him winning. And I've been saying from the beginning, there has been no intention of him winning at all. In fact, what I think he was doing is, what I think he has been doing is to raise a bunch of money and then leave, and then put that into his nonprofit and continue to be wealthy on that side. But now there are people that are thinking, okay, he's the answer for the Republican Party. But I think he was put up there by the machine, and I don't mean like the Democrat-Republican, although it does have Democrat hands on it, but just to continue to tear down our party. Why do Republicans so easily attach to the conversation with somebody that they know has no ability, zero ability to win? That's what just continues to boggle my mind. And many people told me last night that him just being there brought everything down to a different level. Barb Kirkmeyer knows her information. She's liberal, but she knows her information. I know my information. I'm conservative. I know my information. Victor was just like put up there to disenfranchise the whole thing, it felt like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough when you have a candidate that is on the stage that is so different.
Yes.
It's so different. I mean, it's obvious that you serve in the legislature currently. It's obvious that Barb has been a part of this machine for decades.
Yeah.
I think the advantage of some of the questions they asked her were very pointed, almost as if they were rehearsed. Makes it difficult to get past the ability to understand, to be able to articulate the answers quickly. I think you did well under pressure, but let's talk about simple questions. First of all, I want to do this first. This is a video of you answering about Democrats overreaching in Colorado. I want to use this as a basis. Go ahead and play. Got to.
Mr. Bottom, same question. An area where Dems have overreached, overplayed their hand, lost Colorado, and you will make major change.
Thank you for the question. The simple answer is they've destroyed pretty much everything in our state. To pick one thing that I would put up at the front is day one, I'm going to go back to using the Constitution as our guide rule. We are not a constitutional state anymore. We have completely torn apart the Constitution. I've come down many times in the well at the Capitol at the microphone and argued this, that I've read the Constitution, say you can't pass this bill, you can't do this law. And they've come down, the Democrats have come down to the microphone and said, well, we'll pass the laws, you sue us. In other words, they don't care about the rule of law, they don't care about statute, they don't care about Constitution. Well, we're just going to go back to the Constitution. That affects Tabor, that affects Second Amendment, that affects parental authority, children, that affects water rights, that affects everything. And so we're just going to do a silly little thing called the Constitution.
Probably your best answer of the night, because it really just brought people back to a place. How many people do you think in Colorado have read the Colorado Constitution?
A good 15 or 20.
People total?
Yeah.
Out of the 6 million, 15 or 20?
Yeah, maybe a little bit higher, but yeah. Most people don't have a clue what our state constitution is and what our federal constitution is. And interestingly, most people that, now I wouldn't say most, but a lot of people that we see in public settings and town halls and things, they don't know there is a state constitution. They think there is only the Constitution of the United States.
Well, you talked about Tabor, which is in the Constitution. You also talked about the Second Amendment, also in the Constitution. And when I heard you say that answer, I was like, you know what? I haven't read the Colorado Constitution in so long. I need to go back and read it. And then I started to compare it to some of the rules and laws that we built. And Scott, are any of the laws that you passed in this legislative session legal, given that?
Most are not, and that's the problem. Is we pass about 550 to 600 laws every year, so that's statutorial. That's not Constitution. You're not changing the Constitution. You're only putting statute in. But here's the problem: is when you have statute that goes directly against the state constitution and against the federal constitution. We have changed the state constitution some, to the point where some of the statutes can fit there, but not at the federal. But here's the problem: we pass a few hundred laws every single year that go directly against our own state constitution, and then also even more added to it when you get to the federal constitution.
All right, so let's look at some of these laws. Some of these have to do with illegals in the state, getting entitlements that are both mandated or given to the state
Yes.
by the feds and by tax dollars for the people of Colorado that are funding these entitlements.
Yeah, there's been quite a few too, and then when you go over even some of the things that that fund bills that are unconstitutional too. It's weird how we actually run funding and appropriations to fund certain programs or plans or agencies or whatever, that they're not actually constitutional to be able to even do that, much less the bill. But here's a big one. This is an entire agency in the state of Colorado. It's Cover All Colorado. This is very egregious. It's for 25-26. This is to theoretically give health care to illegal immigrants, because according to law, you cannot, illegal immigrants cannot get Medicaid, except that they do. That's part of the corruption, is
Correct.
They do get Medicaid. And then this bill was supposed to be $17 million for 25 and 26. Okay? At the end of 25, this $17 million, $104.7 million had already been spent in that program. And we're not even to 26 yet.
So let me ask you a question. Why didn't it just shut off at 17 million and say we don't have any more dollars?
Oh, because the budget's a joke. The budget's a scam. It's a shell game. We don't put any stops on any spending. We put it in the budget to make it look like, oh, well, this is what the budget is for. I mean, when people think budget, they say, oh, well, you have 17 million. That's all. There's almost no program that I've ever found. In fact, we audited, the legislature audited 2 different agencies. We've audited a bunch, just specifically for certain kind of spending issues and things like that. 2 of the state agencies got disciplinary action that said you need to do this or you need to do this or whatever the case is. They have 9 months to take care of that. First, they have 3 months to begin the process, and they have 9 months to take care of that. And 2 of these agencies are already in the 10 years later. They still have not done anything that they were told that they had to do in some type of disciplinary action. Our budget, our statutes, our state, it's all a joke. We are so broken, so corrupt, so much fraud, waste, and abuse. There's no intention of, they weren't going to stop at 17 million, and they knew it. Same with abortion, transgender surgeries, any of this stuff. They're not stopping at what the budget says.
So are we in a lawless society in the state of Colorado right now?
We are from the state down. I wouldn't say necessarily from the people, right?
Well, we don't operate from a lawless environment, but you'd be hard pressed to find a law that the state is actually, or anyone above that line of the law is following.
No, they're not. They're not following the Constitution. They're not following the federal Constitution. They're not following statutes. They're not following any of this stuff. And they believe that they will never be touched. That's why that stupid statement that Kyle Clark said last night, well, it's only $3 million or $2.75 million.
It's actually 15 to 20 million, just in the grip.
Just in that one.
Yeah.
And that was one example of the thousands of pages we've sent to them. But in his mind, okay, so it's $3 million worth of corruption. It's not that big of a deal. Why? Because none of them care. None of them care.
So I built this model that kind of, can you guys pull up that model? Have you built it yet? Anybody built it? Probably haven't built it yet. Yeah, so we're in the process of building this model. But basically what I did is just get a copy, a snapshot of the whiteboard, if you would. I stepped away. And we can put that up. So I built this model. And there's this, the Magna Carta goes back to 1215 and 1645. It was used as basically a beating stick for the revolution that wanted to establish in England the fact that people should have their own sovereignty and they should have a seat at the table at their own either success or demise. Yeah. You follow that all the way through history from 1645, all the way through has been the standard by which England sat above the law and started to dictate down to us. And that the rule of law basically didn't apply to them. So you had the Revolutionary War. From there, we had the Civil War. Same thing happened, same behaviors happened. We had people that said, hey, we should be able to have slavery, we should be able to have taxation. And the people said, we're not into that. We're not doing any of that. North-South fought, came out the other side of it. But the principles of the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution created standards
Yes.
that no one was above the law.
Right.
But you just told me that nobody is held accountable in the government. The legislature can do whatever they want. The judiciary can do what they want. You said you've looked at these offices, you've audited them. They're still not doing anything about it.
They're not responding at all. And that's just two of the more egregious. There's plenty that don't. But let me give you a concept or a worldview, I guess, that will help with this, because it's interesting you bring up some of the founding and the Magna Carta with this. So when we wrote our Declaration of Independence and we send this to England, the reason that was so necessary at the time is because England saw us as a bunch of rebels, a bunch of people to be able to send money back to England, and they didn't even consider as part of the kingdom or whatever. We were just these rejects, right? And they needed to snap us in line because we're these rejects. That's exactly what's going on in our state right now. You've got this handful of people, the Democrat leadership, and you can't blame this on the Republicans. Although I don't want to just give Republicans a wash here. There's some corruption and fraud and waste abuse in the Republican Party. I've seen it. I've personally seen it. But
you got some pretty evil people in the Republican Party too.
We do,
frankly.
And half of them either are not Republican or they're just out there. They're grifting. They're trying to get their own, trying to build their own little empire.
Yeah.
But here's what's happening from the handful of leadership. You've got your four major Democrats right now. That's Hickenlooper, Weiser, Polis, and Bennett, right? Those are the four majors, but they're not the biggest power players. They really are not. There's other people that are the power players, and they consider the people of Colorado as their little subjects, and they can get whatever they can get from them. They'll bleed them dry. Because I have people all the time ask, why do they keep taxing us? Why do they stop our businesses? Why are they hurting us? Why are they doing this? Because they don't care about you. You are just a pawn in their game. They don't care about corruption being known because they're too powerful. They don't care about you. Even take the Tina Peters stuff. I was on one show this morning, a interview, and they were one of the guys interviewing kept saying, well, we know that Tina Peters was convicted and all this stuff. I said, you were so full of it. The evidence that Tina presented, first, she was not allowed to present her own evidence in her own case. It was a sham trial. But that hard drive and everything else, why has Attorney General Weiser never investigated that?
Never.
Why has the judicial system
300 gigs of information?
Yes. No, it hasn't even casually looked at it. Why is the justice system? Why have the district attorneys? Why have none of them ever investigated this? Because the people are just useful idiots to give money to the big bad leadership in the state capitol, the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And how dare people like me get in the way and actually bring these subjects up and actually run for governor? That I have a very, very good chance of being governor, and that scares them to death because nobody's ever called their hand.
Well, it's such a good chance that they can't stop talking about me.
It's true. That one floored me. When Kyle Clark brought you up and then made it look like you're just wanting to murder all the people in
I had to do a whole video on this.
Yeah.
I had to do a whole video on this. And I've explained it. I mean, you're a pastor. Revelations 2:9, Revelations 3:9
Right.
talk specifically about people that say they're of the Jewish faith and or of the tribe, right? That hide behind good people, but they are actually the synagogue of Satan. In other words, they are the evil that is basically using good people as a shield for their misdeeds.
Yeah.
And I study the Bible quite a bit. I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is get the Bible verses just so I can keep my head clean. And by the way, if I didn't, I would probably go crazy.
Yes.
But they lied. But I do have to say, you had a really funny answer. Well, maybe. But they said, well, you have a place in your administration or in your cabinet. And you're like, maybe, but I'll have to keep away from Jews. So I had to keep myself away from me.
The stupidity of the question, you just want to say, this is stupid. This is dumb. Why are you trying to spin something here that has no relevance in anything that we're talking about? This has no bearing on anything, but you're trying to make it something that is, that makes me out to be a bad guy, makes Joe out to be a bad guy, something.
Whiteboard ready? Go ahead and put it up real quick. So Scott, just so you know, this is the whiteboard, and you'll see that the people are down there. President Trump got himself into some trouble because he put himself down here with the people, saying, hey, I'm going to try and protect the people. When he did that, he stepped below that line of law. And so, you know, the reason why I put this up, you have the CIA up there, you have the DOD, you have the IRS, you have cops, you have the education system, you have media, you have tech. So all of those companies and organizations up there, including the executive, judicial, and legislative branch, all have immunity.
Yeah.
Like all the things you're talking about, think about it. The chances of somebody, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than you have to be above that line and being convicted and put away for a crime that you committed, including the word illegal. So they say no one is above the law.
Right.
By definition, illegals are above the law because they're here illegally.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that's my...
And being embraced and enabled and funded and everything else, instead of being arrested.
Right.
It truly makes no sense. We have created an entire fake world that we're living in right here. And when, this is why my campaign team and we always talk about this, is I get labeled as an extremist. Yeah. Because of my common sense, everyday values that everyone else in the state of Colorado, pretty much everyone, has the exact same common sense approach, but I get labeled an extremist. It's bizarre. You can't be extreme when you're trying to protect children. You're not extreme when you're trying to protect parents, or the Second Amendment, or Tabor, or our constitutional freedoms, First Amendment right, 14th Amendment. You're not an extremist. But when the machine says you're an extremist, then you have to spend most of your time trying to defend that.
Yeah, I don't actually defend it anymore. I just basically speak to the liars. I call them what they are. I think that's the part that gets me, or gets them.
Yeah. And sometimes, and you and I talked about this before this, sometimes it's hard, like in those debates and things, it's hard to keep your mind and rise above that and say, no, this is just stupidity that you're presenting right now. Because, well, answer the question. Well, it's a dumb question.
Well, that by the way, that is an answer.
Yes.
I just want you to know that that's a dumb question. Yes. Let me tell you what's important to the people. And then you just go on to, this is what's important to the people, right?
Yeah, agreed.
So let's I want to, because people are asking the question, by the way, put comments up on the screen if you would as well for us. But I want to play this because this is when Kyle Clark asked you about me, and your look on your face was like,
I was literally,
where is that question? What question? That's not a real question. Go ahead, play it.
Mr. Bottoms, while we are on the topic of religion and politics, you said that you are deeply honored to have the endorsement of your good friend Joe Oltmann, the MAGA podcaster who has called for the execution by hanging of Colorado's governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, who he calls synagogue of Satan Jews. You said that Mr. Oltmann would have made a great governor himself, and you endorsed his failed run to become the Colorado Republican Party chairman. Do you also believe that Colorado's governor, attorney general, and secretary of state should be arrested, tried, and hanged? And do you also believe that they are synagogue of Satan Jews?
Joe Oltmann and I disagree very strongly on the nation of Israel, very, very strongly. This is our biggest dividing point. We've gone around and around about it. I don't have a problem with the Jewish people at all. I also do know that there are indictments coming down pretty soon for Secretary of State Griswold and Attorney General Weiser.
So just to clarify what you're saying, you believe that you have insider information that there will be a federal sedition indictment against Colorado's Secretary of State and Attorney General, sedition being a charge punishable by death. I just want to clarify, that's what you're saying?
Yes, treason. And then the indictments are probably going to come down around mid-summer. There's also 4 other investigations.
Do you share your good friend Joe Oltmann's view that they should be tried and, if convicted, executed?
No, I'm not against the death penalty. I'm strongly in favor of the death penalty. But from the things that I've seen in the conversations they have, I don't think that it warrants that level.
And a last question on this. If you're elected governor, would Mr. Oltmann have a role in your administration?
Assuming it's not around Jewish people, probably.
I think some folks are going to find that funnier than others.
I couldn't stop laughing. You were trying to make light of a situation, right? Now you've had time to stew on it because the question should have never come up. I should never have been a debate question.
And even the way you framed the question was really disingenuous. Yes, as you just said, there is such a thing as a synagogue of Satan. It's actually mentioned in Scripture. This isn't something you're making up.
Right.
God said it. And so there is that. And that these people are really harming the state of Colorado to a great degree. Now, it's interesting that the punishment for treason is death, right? Even though I would be the one to support them being arrested, I'm not a judge. I can't say whether they get death penalty or not. That's a judge's issue, but that is the penalty for treason.
So this is the biggest problem that I have. I mean, I'll just tell you. I want to be able to clarify my position. First of all, I'm not a MAGA podcaster. I'm a business guy. I've been a business guy for a long time.
That's Kyle's style, though.
Yeah. So he wants to, denigrate me like I think that he's just a little midget that Antifa kid that got picked on in pretty much his entire life.
I think that's a given.
But that's me being funny. That's my opinion. It's nobody else's opinion. Okay. So, but the point is that you and I have talked about clarifying the Israel.
Yes.
Support of Israel. And I am not, you've admonished me for this, I am not an absolutist of support for Israel.
Right.
Right? And, but I've never asked you to take on my opinion.
Right. And I'm not
But I'm also a Jew and a Christian.
Yeah,
so
can you be though? Can you really be?
I am a Jew.
Okay, just checking. Checking.
I have lots of Jewish blood running through my body, and it's not like I hate Jews. I don't hate anybody.
And you and I both agreed that that's not the case. And when it comes to everything, I'm not a carte blanche support of everything Israel does.
Right.
Okay.
I support the people.
Yes, I support the people. Sometimes the leadership, and it does depend on which leadership. I'm not anti-Netanyahu. I don't think you're a Netanyahu fan.
I'm not. And this is where you said Joe, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Joe, no.
But at the end of the day, it's the people of Israel, and you can walk through the Bible, and it's always the people of Israel. When the leadership follows God, God honors the leadership and blesses the people. When the leadership does not follow God, God still hears the cries of his people. That's all through Scripture.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. There's a strong demarcation throughout Scripture, even into the New Testament. And so yeah, I mean, we're not eye to eye on it, but I don't think we're as far apart as what Kyle was hoping to put a division in there.
Look, I think that most people feel the same way. I think most people in this state, Democrat, Independent, Republican, are humanitarians.
Yeah.
They're people that believe in the human good, the spirit of doing good.
Right.
And not separating that doing good by black, white, green, yellow, purple, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, right? We're not absolutists, right? We don't believe that you should be able to go in and hurt women and children. And it's not, okay, you can only hurt a black woman and child, or you can only hurt a Muslim woman and child. Or we're in that place right now where we recognize the innate evil that leadership has brought to the table for thousands of years.
Yes.
Right?
My thing is I love people. I pray for the salvation of all peoples. I pray for God to put his hand over all peoples. This is one of the things that I say in the Capitol regularly, which drives the Black Caucus absolutely nuts, is I fight for the life of all babies from conception. I fight for the black babies, the brown babies, the white babies, all. It doesn't matter what people group it is. Humans are humans, and we should be fighting for humans. Now, there are bad actors. I have no problem with making sure they go to jail. If they're in some kind of military conflict, I have no problem with the bad actors being shot, but that's not always who gets shot.
That's not exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to operate with restraint. I mean, as we get further and further through this, into a place of looking at and understanding humanity, which I think we've done for thousands of years. I don't think it's a new concept, right?
No.
But this idea not to look good to avoid looking bad and being able to dismiss bad things that are done to people. You'd be hard pressed to argue that the Palestinians have not been wronged.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I hate Israel.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic, because the people of Israel, by the way, are just as much at conflict with it.
Yes.
Like, they do not agree with leadership in Israel. None of them.
And interestingly, this has been for a long time. I've been there. I've watched it. I've been in Israel. I've been at that fence, and they let Palestinians come into Israel to work.
Yeah.
That a lot.
And become citizens.
And you can even hold office. I know of Muslims that hold office in Israel. So the people are voting them in. So there is that. You have to bring that to the table. Just to assume that now obviously you do have bad actors. Iran wants to completely destroy Israel. There's no doubt about that. They've said that over and over.
But the people of Iran don't.
No, the people. And I'll tell you something
I think that's
else.
really a good differentiator.
We have missionaries that are in Iran that our church supports. That I know these people. I've known them for years. And the number, and this, you can Google this. There's a lot of stats out there about this. The number one move of God in the world right now is in Iran.
Yep. 28% of the people in Iran consider themselves Christian.
Yes, and that is growing.
28%.
That is growing like crazy. Now, the leadership would not mind just killing them all, right?
It's kind of like the Uyghur people,
Yes.
Uyghur people of China, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's still souls, and that's where it gets me. Is there's still souls. I'm not against military conflict, but I think it needs to be military conflict and not the attack on the people.
Let's talk about the problems that are happening in Colorado. I think we've beaten a dead horse, and that the dog whistles that Kyle Clark and Marshall Mathers. I don't have any idea what his last name is. But at least I know what his first name is.
Is he the guy that did the Slim Shady song? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Marshall Mathers?
Yeah, but he's like the Urkel version,
Yeah.
right?
I'm saying the guy that was there last night. Didn't he do the Slim Shady?
No.
Oh, he didn't? Okay.
No, he's...
Sometimes I get those things wrong.
Well, I grew up listening to rap music, so I'm just going to tell you that that's not Marshall Mathers.
Okay.
That's not 8 Mile Mathers. No.
Okay, I got it. All right. Thank you for correcting me.
I want to say this to you, okay? Because I think that there was a nervousness. I got calls from all sorts of people from last night all the way through this morning. I was like, Scott's going to be on the show, and they go, "Are you mad at Scott?" I was like, "No, no. Why would I be mad at you? I saw the setup coming."
I did say I want you in my administration.
Yeah.
I mean, there's limitations.
so just so everyone knows, if you don't see the video, one of my best friends and my business partner of 14 years is a gay, married Jewish father of 2. And you'll meet him before you leave, obviously. But I think probably another 15 or 20 people here are Jewish. I don't think any of them. I'll introduce you to them. I'll say this is of the tribe, so you can have that in your back pocket.
And they each of them know what tribe they're from?
I don't know.
I talk to a lot of Jews that have no clue of their tribe, and that's important to me.
I think Larry does. I mean, Larry and Lisa do, for sure, sure.
Got it.
But these people love me, and I love them, right? And so the idea that they can create division inside my community, inside my family, I find despicable and disgusting, right? Because you can't love people, you can't do what I do. You can't do what you do and have a differentiator between races, religions, political affiliations, sexual orientation. You can't, right? Yeah. You cannot do fundamentally what I do and what you do and hate anybody.
Yeah. Well, we even have coming. I don't make these things that public, and I won't tell you the details about this right now because you have to be on the email list to know exactly. But we have a conference coming up at our church this month that is specifically for the Jewish community and the Messianic Jewish community. And we're going to have rabbis speak, and we're going to be talking about some of the anti-Semitism that's moving across the country and moving across the state, because that's an issue that everybody has to deal with. Everybody does. And we are becoming so anti-Semitic. That is people. That is not governments. That is not all this other stuff. That is the people, and the people of Colorado. And so I love these things. I absolutely love these things. I have been working with a handful of different Jewish groups for quite a few years now. And it's engaging to me because guess what? My history, my biblical history is Jewish. The Old Testament is Jewish. The New Testament is Jewish. And then God allows me to be what's called adopted in. And
well, he didn't adopt, he grafted you in.
Grafted you, yeah.
I mean, that's a big difference. And I'm a huge proponent of really looking at what the promise is that, and curse, that Jesus stated. He said, no one comes to the Father except through me. I am the way, the truth, and the life, right?
He didn't say one of the ways. He said the way.
Only way. The only way through. Yeah. So we have, by believing in him, following him, accepting him as our Lord and Savior, we get access to eternal life. And that pisses a lot of people off.
Yeah. We get grafted into something that has existed for thousands of years before we got here.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So let's talk about policy, because I don't think we got to policy yesterday.
We did not.
I don't think any of it got to policy.
We did not.
The current budget's about $46 billion, the $45.5 billion, am I right?
At the end of this year, it'll be $48.7 billion.
Okay, so let's say it's $48 billion. In 2020, that budget was $31 billion. So that's an increase of about 55%.
Yeah.
Inflation has been about 9% over that same period of time. Where did the other 40% go? Because this is the thing, and how are you going to get to the bottom of the grift on the people of Colorado that's made their property taxes double or triple and has put us in a really bad position as a state?
Yeah. Well, when we're addressing the budget, and we did that, you spend about 2 or 3 weeks in the Capitol addressing just the budget, voting on all the pieces, what's called orbitals, all this other stuff. And I did this, other Republicans did this, we ran amendments. Actually, a few Democrats did this because it was some of their bills were even being left out because of the shortfall, 1.5 billion in the hole. So these are amendments that I would run to say, well, let's take from this money here and let's put it over here, or let's cut this or do whatever. And we were always just voted unanimously, no, you're not allowed to do that. Well, here's the thing, is there's 4 areas that were the sacred cows. You couldn't touch this. So these are major chunks of money. You're not allowed to touch that. But over here, we can do whatever and play around, but you can't touch these. And then they come back and
say— Which
say—
is a vast majority of the budget.
Yes, vast majority.
Yeah.
Here's just a couple of things, is we are a destination state for abortions. All over the United States. You can come here and taxpayers will pay for those abortions. And even Kyle Clark tried to address this last night and said, well, that the numbers said that it was this, and those are lies. Those are absolute, complete, blatant lies. But he's not making the lie up. He's just regurgitating it. It is the Democrats in the House and the Senate that are making these lies up, including the Budget Committee, which Senator Kirkmeyer sits on. She's part of the problem here. She will not stand up against stuff. She won't touch the sacred cows. Transgender surgery, same way.
Well, so let's address some of this really quick, because it was a game of how to create as many scarlet letters on the candidates as possible.
Yeah.
Right? So much so that Kyle was enamored with Victor Marx and called him out for, are you the most dangerous man or are you a con man? He literally indicted the character of Victor Marx on the debate stage, which should be off limits, frankly.
Should be, yep.
Right? And we can not like him. But the questions that were asked were nearly despicable. They were despicable for you, seemed like softballish-ish for
Kirkmeyer.
Kirkmeyer, and completely despicable. You could not find a worse set of questions to ask Victor Marx. I believe he was prepared for policy questions, and that is not what was given.
No, it wasn't. I don't think he would have done well with the policy questions either, but we don't know because he didn't get there. He didn't get the opportunity. We do have a lot of issues in the state of Colorado we have to deal with. We have to deal with the budget. We have to deal with the corruption. We have to deal with constitutionality. These are strong policy stuff. I've got tons of executive orders already ready to go. We're already picking our campaign administration. I mean, not our campaign, but the governor's administration. Plus, Joe, would you like to be part of the administration?
Yeah, you just have to let me hang out with Jewish people. It's my only thing is I got to hang out with Jewish people. I got to hang out with my tribe. Sorry.
I don't know. I'll get back with you on that. But
the only people that are actually against it are the radical leftists that don't believe in God at all.
Yes.
That are only Jewish by name only.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. I mean, if you look at the people who are faithless, I mean, even rabbis.
Yes.
Right. They will all tell you. They're like, Joe, sometimes you could probably say it differently. And I was like, I don't know how to say it. I want to say it just the way I say it.
Yeah, let me be me.
But they're like, I love you anyway.
Well, but all of these things, we already know where we're headed once I take the governor's office. We already know a lot of the things that we're doing.
Right.
And these are built upon not just 4 years. I don't normally talk about this. I've mentioned it in some town halls. But when we first hired our campaign team in January of 25, and you met Corey out there.
Yeah,
Corey was part of that original team. We don't have any of that team except Corey left right now for different reasons. But the husband of one of the women that own that campaign team, he actually does a school out of Washington State to teach governors how to be governors and senators, congressmen, that kind of thing, at the federal level. And so for 8 months, every week, I went to school learning how to be a governor. Went right down through the Constitution, through statutes, all of the positions across our state that are appointed and all this stuff. I'm not coming in this with my eyes closed. You had my 4 years as a representative to this. We already know what we're going to do when I take that oath of office, and we're going to hit the ground running as fast or faster than President Trump did in his third election. And so,
all right, so let's talk about something that's close to the heart of everyone in Colorado, and that is they don't own their home, Scott.
Yes. Well, and there's a bunch of problems. The two major things to process here is, one is property tax. I think property tax is unconstitutional. I don't like the idea of it. It is not okay for somebody to continuously be taxed every year for something they've bought.
Right.
It's like if you went and bought a flat screen TV and then every year you get a tax bill on that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've already paid my taxes. And this is also what is used by the state to get older people out of their homes. Either they're living in their home and they've paid it off, and then all of a sudden their property tax doubles, or their property tax almost triples, which we've seen in the last 5 years. Now they're literally taxed out of their property. Tell me how that's legal. The state can tax you out of your property? It makes no sense. And
you shouldn't rent the property from the government to begin with.
No.
You should be able to own your property and own your property. It shouldn't be this thing where they get to come back and assess an entitlement against you.
I really truly believe it's unconstitutional. And when I become governor, we're going to fight it on constitutional basis first. But I'll probably have to do an incremental thing. I can't just say no property taxes, right?
You could.
I could, but man, you talk about trying to fight that one. But here's the thing: we can incrementally.
You could have a consumption tax. You could have like a 1% or 1.5% consumption tax across the board.
Well, that's what we used to have years ago, right? That's how our country started, was a consumption / sales tax.
And you had imports had tariffs on.
Yes, and that's part of how we did it was tariffs. I also don't believe income tax is constitutional either. Income taxes goes to the state, property taxes goes to local, so we do have to restructure the local property tax, but that's not a problem. I'm going to be meeting with Governor DeSantis's team. They are debating this right now in the Florida House.
You know why they're debating it?
No.
Because the people are fed up.
Yes. Well,
we're so tired, and we're so taxed that they can tell that it's not just heating up.
Right.
Like people are getting to the point where they're giving up. There's like, you know what? Screw you guys.
Yeah.
They can see that line of law and everything above it is designed to treat them like slaves.
Yeah.
And it's only the people.
Yeah, at least they have a governor and a House that'll address it. Ours wouldn't even let that get out of committee. We would not be allowed to have this subject come to the floor.
Right.
But we can, and we'll do it. We'll do it incrementally, kind of like Florida's doing. I've got a couple of different ideas, but we're still working through it. I don't know the exact of how that is right now. But that's why I'm going to go meet with their team and say, look, show me what you've done, how you've done it. What is the tier system? We can do it in a time frame system too, rather than a tier system. We can do things like if you're over 55, no property tax. If you've already paid your home off, no property tax. If you're military, no property tax. I mean, we go right down the line with some of these things that make it so that we can get to no property tax in an overall sense, I think, fairly quickly. But we just got to stop that because people can't afford to buy homes. They can't afford to do any of this stuff. And then on top of that, we have to deregulate just like crazy. We have so many regulations, so many fees, so much red tape. And now we just passed a law this I think it was about February this year, where, and man, we fought against this, but they just, we don't get any voice in that building. And so that basically now they're saying that the state can override county building and planning commissions. When they say we don't want a large apartment complex right here in the county, the state now has the authority to say, no, we will tell you what you can have.
That's why they didn't want Douglas County to become a home rule.
That's exactly why.
And then they lobbied so hard for it, and then you have stolen elections. All right, so let's talk about elections really quick.
Okay.
You're running for governor.
I am.
And I think you have a good chance of winning.
I really do.
But I think that you're going to have to make it too big to rig.
Yes.
Which means you're going to have to give hope to Democrats and independents and stay away from the loonies like Kyle Clark, right?
Yeah.
Or at least be able to silence them with a factual smack in the face, right?
Right.
So the election systems are still not legitimate.
Right.
And they haven't been for some time. We've done all this investigation into the elections themselves. How do you overcome that in such a way that you give people confidence so that they show up at the polls in order to vote?
Well, let me go on. There's two questions there. Let me address. The first one is, how do we deal with corrupt elections and me getting to voted into office? The other half is the unaffiliated and the Democrats and hope and stuff, because that's actually a very big subject. So here's the thing. I already mentioned and you and I have talked about this a lot, the sedition charges for Griswold Weiser, right? And I personally believe that Polis is part of that, but that I
don't think they're going to be pushing anything on Polis.
No, I agree. And here's the reason why. Here's one of the many reasons why. First, it's very difficult to indict a sitting governor, right? It just is. But we'll see after he's out of office. But
they did it in Michigan.
They sure
not
did.
Michigan, but Illinois.
Yep. And well, they've been talking about it in Michigan too. They've been saying they're going to do that in Michigan. But here's the thing. I think the reason that Polis let Tina Peters out had nothing to do with compassion. I've seen so many people, specifically Republicans online, saying, well, finally he has a heart and he had compassion. He doesn't care anything about Tina Peters.
I agree with that.
He doesn't. He wanted her to rot in jail forever. But here's the thing. I think, and I don't have anything to base this on except just really good gut feelings, and I have very good gut feelings. But I think he's working with Trump on this and then trying to keep out of the sedition charges, trying to keep out of being indicted. And I think he said, look, if I let Tina out, will you, it's already going to be difficult. You know that, blah, blah, blah. Don't indict me. And I think that's what's happening. But so you've got the indictments first with Griswold and Weiser. Then you have the other 4 investigations that are going on with the DOJ right now. The 2020 election, 24 election, the BIOS passwords. That's going to be one of the big ones that hangs her. And I'm speaking metaphorically. But, and then the 4th one is the voter anomalies in Arapahoe County.
It's not just Arapahoe, where they changed the records?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a crime. So, but they did it in Mesa County. They did it.
Well, here's the thing. A Harvard professor got that. It's an interesting trail you can follow to figure out how that happened. And it's only Arapahoe County, which was statistically impossible in Arapahoe County. 62 other counties have the exact, not similar, exact same thing going on in their counties. So when you investigate all 4 of those things at the same time during the 26th election, see, the federal government can't monitor the 26th election. It's a state-only election. But when you're investigating...
No. It's not a state election. It's not a state election.
Oh, because you have senators.
Because you have senators and congressmen. And remember, they did this on purpose so that a vast majority of the elections still have the teeth of the fact that you have the supremacy clause, because you're administering federal elections.
Well, and here's the thing. They're going to be investigating all those things during this. They already are. They're going to continue all the way through this election cycle, which includes what? Mail-in balloting, county clerks, Griswold herself, the BIOS passwords, the machines, the internet capability of the machines, the how each of the counties have been brought under her authority, which is illegal. Mm-hmm. They are elected by the people. They do not work for the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State helps them and leads them in the process, but they don't work for her. But she did that 2 years ago, just brought them under, 3 years ago, just brought them under, 2 years ago. So all of these things are going to be investigated. So now this is the big subject. Our elections are broken and corrupt, without a doubt. But I think Griswold is going to be looking over her shoulder. If somehow she's not in jail, I don't think she's going to be in jail by then, but she's going to be looking over her shoulder like crazy during this election cycle. There's no way. I am positing that I think this could be the most secure election we've had in 20 years. Now let's go to the other subject, which is how can we give hope to these different groups? Well, here's the key with this.
Because you gave me a little hope, but I know other things that are happening too. So I mean, I feel.
I try to get some of this information. Well, I do. I say this, what I just said. I make sure I say that at every single town hall. I make sure I say it at every single thing. I said it last night in my closing, a little brief example, not totally all that. But I try to leave people with hope, because if there's no hope, it doesn't matter how much I can convince them I'm the candidate. If they don't go out and vote, it's moot. And so we have to do that. But here's the cool thing about all of the hope. Let me add to what I just said to add hope. Democrats all over the state are pulling away from Democrat leadership. They're not okay with it. 85% of our state does not want boys and girls sports. That is 85%. That's every party. You've got some kind of little fringe over there on the side that says, yes, we want boys and girls sports. So the Democrat leadership, things like legalizing prostitution, that got a lot of people's attention. In fact, that got a lot of the yellow dog, blue dog Democrats, whatever you want to call them, in the rural communities. That really got their attention. The transgender laws, all of those kind of things. So we know, we're doing our numbers constantly. We know that we need a major chunk of Democrat voters. Specifically through Denver to Fort Collins, with Boulder included. But we're actually getting a lot of these numbers from the rural communities, which we didn't expect. That we know that Democrats are pulling away from the leadership. They're going to vote for a Republican governor. Now, it's not going to be a Republican governor that thinks the economy and potholes is what's going to get us there. The Democrats have never crossed the aisle and voted for Republicans because of the economy. They just never have. Never. Because of potholes, because everybody says they're going to fix the potholes, right? So,
right.
But you also have unaffiliated, and for a long time, unaffiliated, when you ask the questions, and by the way, phone polling is a thing of the past. Nobody uses phone polling. Yeah, maybe some archaic campaigns do, but when you ask the questions to unaffiliated, they used to say, well, I lean Democrat. 60% would lean Democrat, 40% would lean Republican. That's not the case anymore.
No.
That's not even the conversation.
The Overton window had moved so far that
it has.
People are like, I think I'm right now.
And on top of that, they don't even use the party names as how they answer their questions. Like, let's say you did pick up a phone and call an unaffiliated voter and ask them, are you going to vote Democrat or Republican? They're going to say neither. But that doesn't mean they're going to vote for the unaffiliated candidate. It means Republican and Democrat's not what they're looking at. They are not part of the parties because the parties have been lying to them.
Yeah, well, they've
betrayed
them. They've betrayed them.
Yes, I've been lied to. And you realize I get attacked as much or more by Republicans than I do Democrats?
Oh, I know.
They just come at me constantly. Well, the unaffiliateds now, they're saying things like, Well, because you asked the question, what causes you pain? What causes you joy? What will you stand for? Those kind of things. And it's always family stuff. I want to stand for parental authority. I want to stand to protect children. They understand that our state is so trafficking and so pedophilic and all of that. And so they say that. We are seeing right now that close to the 80% mark, unaffiliateds are leaning toward family values, no boys and girls sports, these kind of things.
Right.
Well, guess what that does? That actually leans into me, not any other candidate out there.
Okay, so let's we're going to play a little game here. Okay, I like to play a little game because there's a bunch of questions that have come up that I've been walking past. So I want to put this out there for you. If you have a question, please put it in the comments. I'm going to try and bring up Pilled. Guys, make sure that you put it up there too. So we have Pilled, Facebook, ask a question, and I will ask that question of Scott. I'd like it if most of them come from people in Colorado, but if you're not in Colorado and you want to have the, and you want to be able to where in the world is it? To ask a question, please do. Okay? All right. I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about Victor Marx yet because I want to have a little fun with it. I want to make that to be like, that's like eating ice cream. It's like dessert.
Yes.
All right? 1 or 2 sentences of what you believe. Yes, no, right? Trade schools.
Trade schools are on the rise. That is the future. And Trump made sure that the Pell Grant can now be used for trade schools.
Would you include things like getting your pilot's license and things like that that are fundamentally things that we have to have? We have to have smart pilots that literally go to school. Would you include flight school in the trade school environment?
Yeah, there is. So we have what's traditionally white collar, blue collar. Mm-hmm. I think there's a mid collar that's busting out right now, and it's people with certificates, certain things like pilot training, things like that, that are not, you're not getting the degrees, but these are actually more sought out after in a lot of the tech realms and things like that. My son has so many certificates, and he's making some fat money at Boeing, and he didn't finish college.
All right. Education standards, 24% of kids that graduate from high school in the state of Colorado graduate proficient in math, science, reading, and they are prepared for the real world. In other words, to go on to college. Yet 47% of kids that graduate from high school end up going on to higher education. How do you bridge that gap, number one? And two, how do you create a standard of education in Colorado that eliminates some of these social programs and allows the parents to have a seat at the table?
So this is a huge answer, but I'll encapsulate part of it. I have a whole education plan that will tear down the old system and create a new one. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
But here's a simple thing. We keep throwing money at education. In the United States, we're in the top 10 for the amount of money given to education every year. But we're in the lower 20th percentile in actual education value. Right. 36% of graduating seniors can't read at 6th grade level, okay? Now, if you just Google how does education compare from Colorado across the states, it'll put us pretty high in the number, but it includes higher education. It took me a while to figure this out. So if you put in there K through 12, the number comes down. And then if you put in there math proficiency, science, man, we're crashing.
We're almost non-existent. I mean,
yes.
As a state.
This is why 40% of all public students in public schools have left since 2000. Parents are not okay with this.
Okay, so that leads me to the next question, where homeschoolers have largely in 2020, they represented about 1.5% to 2% of the population. Now more than 20% of parents are choosing homeschooling or online schooling as opposed to public education. How are you going to turn that around?
I don't want to turn that around. I think homeschooling is a huge benefit for everybody. What we need to do is we need to pull, and this is part of my education plan. I'm going to say a couple sentences and it's going to erupt everybody online. Okay. Because I don't have time to explain it all. Yeah. But I want to bring.
Well, they can see your plan on your website.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's bullet pointed, and yeah, it's on the website. So, I want to pull public schools into the free market system and make them compete for parents to send their child there.
Okay.
And we can do that through tax credits and tax rebates, refunds, and then public schools charge, private schools charge, charter schools charge, homeschooling, they do what they want.
Are you saying build some sort of voucher program that allows for students to pick their?
It's not. No, I don't like the word voucher, and here's the reason. It's going to sound a little bit like it, but really because see, a voucher, our state constitution says any money the state gives, state controls. So when people say money follow the child, I do not like money following the child, and neither do most of your private schools and homeschooling. What I want to do is just give a tax refund rebate. Right now, it costs it's on average across the state of Colorado about $19,000 to per child to educate that child. I think it might be a little bit lower, but we'll go with that. But we just give a tax credit refund or whatever per student age child in that home to the parent. It's not tied to their education. They can use it for whatever they want because the institution may charge less than whatever the average is.
So, but let me have a little bit of friction here. The homeschool parents are largely resourcing themselves.
Yes.
Right? And if they were given access to $13,000, $14,000, $15,000, that could drastically increase, number one, their ability to participate in extracurricular activities, such as sports, but two, it would even the playing field with some of the resources they have available so that they can pool together as parents and create a system that allows their children to get the best educational experience possible.
Yeah.
And right now, they're having to give up that money for the private school or the public school environment, and they're still having to foot the bill. And some of these parents, by the way, if you give them $20,000, it would just show they didn't make any money. I mean, the tax credit wouldn't give them enough of a benefit that it would just basically giving them a couple $1,000s a year.
Yeah, that's true, except for the fact that they're paying for another student to go to public school, charter school.
Right.
And they're paying for their student, their child to go on top of it. Well, here's part of the thing is we had in our church, for quite a few years, we had a homeschool co-op. Like 100 students that would come to the church, and they're all from different groups. There's plenty of solid groups like that in Springs and all over the state. They would have to come up with all of their own resources to go to an event, to buy something special, to be able to teach their students, to do all this stuff. And these parents, very few of them were wealthy that I saw.
I think that's my point. And here's why I'm bringing this up, is because the administration costs in public education in the state of Colorado represents about 68 to 72% of the budget.
Right.
Okay. That means a vast majority of
that's
the billions
federal monies too, but yes. Yeah.
But a vast majority of those dollars they don't go towards the kids. And on top of that, the budgets that are then put in front of the legislature in the state of Colorado says we have to cut extracurricular activities. We have to cut the ability to have after-school programs, all the things that kids need in order to thrive and have opportunity in the future. So having a program, I think we have to rethink education in such a way that we allow parents. We cut the administration costs of education, period, end, right? They're not the smartest guys in the room. They've done nothing but screw it up. And it's evident by 24% being proficient in all the things that are necessary to be successful. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and here's part of the conversation. You're coming right up to part of the subject that nobody seems to talk about. 76% of all new monies going into education right now go to expand administration. It's not going to teachers. It's not going to students. It's not going to programs. It's going to administrators. So now, for a school, when I was growing up, you had a principal, maybe a vice principal, and a counselor, and that was it. And like hundreds and hundreds of students. Now we have, 30 assistant principals, 6 counselors, all these other. Why? So they continue to make it worse and worse and worse. At some point, shouldn't a halfway decent leadership model say, maybe we should cut some of these things?
Yeah, I think that's that's what I'm trying to get to, is that there's got to be a way. We don't call it vouchers, call it whatever you want, but there has to be access to a pool of capital that gives parents the ability to use that capital in order to give their kids the best possible education for the best possible outcome.
And then when they go into the schools, then what happens is every single school charges. So you're no longer getting state money or property tax money to the school. Now, every school charges, and they can charge, let's say the average, let's say the tax refund credit is going to be $17,000,
Right.
okay, per student in that household. Well, then the school can say, well, we charge $15,000. Or they can say, we believe, and by the way, I presented this to a group of principals, assistant principals, teachers in 3 school districts at the exact same time. And they gave me a standing ovation. I thought it was an unfriendly territory. I thought they were going to shred me. And they said, no, we like this because why? They believe their school can provide a better product. These are STEM schools. They say, we think, and so then you come to standardized testing, because the question always goes, well, how can we guarantee that the schools are doing what they're supposed to? Because they have to. They have to convince the next year's parents that they're the best school. And so the state standardized testing, that's a joke already. It's going to be tossed out the window. Now the standard is going to be so high because now the school has to say, we can prove to you we're best in math,
Right.
we're best in science. And I've had people say, well, then you'll have some students go to a school because it's all about sports.
Right.
Well, that's already happening.
That's already happening now. I mean, and you get the Valors and the Kents and the other schools that are creating scholarship programs for those talented athletes now on the private school side. So I think we have to do something about education. But then let's talk about something else that I think that is important. Republicans, in large part, stay out of Denver, stay out of Aurora. Don't do a very good job of going into those urban environments,
right,
and having a conversation about what's hurting these parents, what's hurting these people. These are the left behinds, right?
Yeah.
This is generational, by the way. So it's carried on from generation to generation. There is a school to prison pipeline.
There is.
We treat them like animals. We create an environment where they can't thrive. Right?
Yes.
They're not given access to things. How do you fix that? How do you go in and listen to the parents that are in Aurora, in Denver, and give them access to the same opportunities you have, say, in Highlands Ranch, Colorado?
Well, part of my education plan I was explaining, it's bigger than that, but part of it will do that. It'll actually put the parents, this is the key, it'll put the parents and the students in the driver's seat. They are not in the driver's seat right now. The state bureaucracy is, the grift and the corruption and the fraud and the waste. 76% of all monies is going to administration. That's corruption.
Right.
That's money laundering is what that is. So that's part of it, is the education plan. But also, there's a bunch of good groups out there. And you actually have been part of this. You've started groups to help inner city kids and things like that. Well, here's what we've done is we've taken all of that out of the hands of the churches and the NGOs and stuff that are really doing legitimate business, the nonprofits, and we put it in the hands and the control of the state. State wants to control everything. Yes. It's like saying we're going to start an inner city program and the DMV is going to run it.
Right.
Really? Come on.
Right.
How many times do we have to fail over and over and over in these programs? Man, I would start helping churches. I would start helping the nonprofits to do this stuff.
So I mean, look, then you have to look at the churches and what kind of influence they have, and whether or not they're going to get into the same social programs and identity politics that has basically hurt our children up to this point.
Let me back up too, because this is important in the process. This is a day one executive order from me as governor.
Right.
No DEI, no CRT, no SEL, and no grooming language from any state agency, any state group, any state program, including education or anywhere we put money as a state. So when you get rid of all of that true evil stuff that is attacking our state, now you're opening up for places that they're not trying to push the CRT, they're not trying to push the DEI, they just care about kids and they'll rise to the surface.
All right, so let's talk about DEI, all of these things. One of the biggest problems in the poorest of communities is that they see this as a leg up to get out of these holes, these man-made holes that frankly have been designed by these traps designed by Democrats to keep Democrats poor and hopeless, just feeding them just a little bit to get just their head above water, just a little bit, just to be able to breathe. How are you going to handle immunity? How are you going to handle judicial immunity, legislative immunity, executive immunity, right? I mean, big pharma immunity.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no checks and balances.
None.
Right? And the judges in this state are largely unpopular, if not corrupt nearly to the core. How do you give people back trust in a system that is so rotted with people that are ideologically bent towards a selfish desire to serve themselves?
Well, that goes back to the investigations that, well, I've already started with the resolution I tried to run. I did run it, and they voted against it, to investigate our judicial system, to investigate our Supreme Court, to investigate Attorney General Weiser. For the average citizen of Colorado, you ask them, do you believe our state is corrupt? They all know it is.
100%.
They know it is.
You could be talking to Big Mama over in Green Mountain Ranch, right? 5 Points, doesn't matter.
Yes.
You talk to anyone, they'll say, yeah, we're not about that life.
No.
Right.
And you've got a handful of people that are controlling everything.
Right.
And I don't mean like 5 people. I mean like, a few hundred, but they do control the entire state. And elected officials are the biggest group of that, right? In both parties, by the way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here's the first thing is we've got to just investigate everything. We've got to root out the corruption. In the process of rooting out the corruption, you do come across some good guys.
Yeah.
And those are the people you put into places as fast as you can. We go through the judicial system. You go through everything. I know we talk about Tina Peters, being incarcerated and wrongly used, and it was political activism by a judge and all this kind of stuff. But when you go into 5 Points is a good example. You just mentioned that. There are a lot of people down there that have been victims of that.
1,000%.
But they get no verbalization. They get no recognition. They are invisible.
They're invisible.
And I have, as a pastor for decades, I have worked with those people. I've spent more time than I can count in the inner cities, not just Denver, but other inner cities. I used to live in Texas. I grew up in Dallas. There is so much corruption, and everybody knows it's there, but we're hiding it. We're pushing it away. Well, the first thing is we'll get through the corruption. The second thing is then you go back into these communities, and I have no problem doing that, so I've spent a lot of time in the inner city, is go back in and say, how can we help? What can we do? And the answer is not just give them money. It's give them direction, give them purpose, give them value, give them hope. That's actually what people are looking for. Short term, people don't mind you handing them money. But this is what the DEI stuff, equity is such a joke. I believe in equality. Equity is a lie perpetrated on the people. And what it says is, well, we're going to give you a little bit here and stuff like affirmative action. We're going to give you a little bit here, but you're never going to get ahead. You're never going to be able to break out of the system.
Well, you can't because there's so many traps. There's so many different traps. So then, there's so many things that are broken for people, right? And we could talk about wolves being introduced in big parts of the budget, $20 million, $30 million for a wolf.
Yeah.
Right? That we didn't need introduced in Colorado. They could just breed up in Canada, right? We don't need them. So you have these constant pet projects that get created that leave the people behind.
Yes.
And so how do you pick winners and losers? Number one, how do you go into the community and say, what do you need? And then maybe use that as an indication for how you serve, not just Republicans, but independents and Democrats. Yeah.
The first thing is we go back to the Constitution. That sets the right groundwork. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you can go into these communities and the Constitution is the equalizer. Money's not the equalizer. It never is, and it never will be. But you've got the Constitution, you've got the rule of law. And then you go back into these communities and you try to help them with, okay, now that we're going to actually put the bad guys in jail and not the good guys, we're not going to abuse the good guys. We're going to help the businesses. We're going to help the community. What are the things that we can do? The idea, you always get this conversation. We want to defund the police and run the police out. If you go into the inner cities, they do not want you to get rid of the police. No. That is the only thing that is keeping them from the bad guys. Now, does that mean they're going to step out on the street corner and call these bad guys out? No, they're not going to. And that's where we have to support the police, make sure we're putting the bad guys in jail and keeping them there. But then now you can say, okay, now we're taking the crime away. We're moving that away. Yeah. It's not instant.
It's not instantaneous that you're going to throw everybody in jail and throw away the key.
No.
Right? There has to be a system that allows for people to become rehabilitated, which then leads me down to the criminal justice system. These are SGAs. These are pseudo-government agencies that are acting on the better half of, and they're doling out punishment. Right?
Yes.
correctional facilities that feed people food that's so substandard.
Yes.
That people are getting out of prison with their skin that's raw. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've dealt with this for years and years and years, where and part of the reason is because as a pastor of a church, when somebody gets out of jail or prison, we try to help. We do ministry in jails and prisons.
Yeah.
I've done that for years. I can't tell you how many jails and prisons I've been in as a visitor, but on the record. So when these people get out of jail, get out of prison, they find guys like me because we've been investing in them while they're in there.
Right.
And it's amazing how you basically walk out and you're kind of just discarded.
Yeah.
You're of no value now. We have to bring, I always try to come back to this because it is so important across every subject in dealing with all of these inner city prison, all this stuff, is people have to be valued and not fake, but really you are important. This is why I believe in life so much. God breathed life into everyone. He breathes his spirit into everyone. And what we have to do is try to help people find that and capture that you are important. You are important to society. You are important to people. Now, don't break the law. Don't do something stupid because that you devalue yourself. But when you are going by the law and you're trying to be part of the community, and I know there's groups out there that try to keep people from doing that. I understand there's nefarious people out there that take advantage of a lot of people. But do the best you can. Get plugged into a church. Get plugged into the YMCA. Do something.
There's too much bloat on top of the line of law.
There is.
And bad leadership leads to bad policy, which leads to bad outcomes. So all the policy problems that we have here are breeding bad outcomes for our young people.
Yes.
And they can feel it. Democrat, Republican, Independent, they can feel it.
Yeah, politics doesn't actually play into it at that level.
It shouldn't.
It's good guys, bad guys.
And I think that they see bad guys.
They see almost all bad guys.
All right. So
everybody's skimming. Everybody's got their hand in the pie. Everybody's got their hand in the pie. That's
for
what
personal gain.
That's what drives me.
For personal gain.
Yes. Yeah. And they don't care if they destroy somebody's life in the process. They're irrelevant.
All right. So here's a question Jeff says is this yes or no? Bibles in the classroom.
I would love to see that. Yes.
Yeah. Would you restore something to the judiciary? Yes or no? When you say, I swear under penalty of perjury, under oath, that I'll tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Would you restore "So help you God" to that?
Yes. So help you God. Here's what I would like to see too.
Yeah.
Make judges do that.
Yeah, I think that's the truth.
Make lawyers
make them do it.
that.
Make them do it under God, though, right?
Yes.
So you go in there now. It says, "Hey, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth."
Yeah, according to my friend the squirrel.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to add, and I now end it with, "So help me God."
Yes.
So help me God.
Hands down. Yeah.
Okay. So, so much stuff here. Let me finish up because we're out of time. You answered a lot of questions, right? And the rural community just wants to know that you're also going to look out for their best interest. You're going to protect the farmers. You're going to bring back, and I think this is overall, I've already read your entire platform. Protect the farmers, bring back energy, right?
Yes.
So bring back the ability to drill, baby, drill,
Yes.
right? Protect our wildlife and hunters, make sure that we actually have clean water and air, stop the cloud seeding that's happening in our state, get us back to a place where we can actually have a checks and balance system and restore the judiciary to a place where there's teeth and the ability to treat the public fairly.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of your judicial corruption is in your rural communities.
Yes.
And that's where people are hurt the most, and specifically, of course, Denver. That's where your child protective services and things like that really do some damage. I'm very much about the rural community. My first step back into, I was born in Colorado, but my first step back into as an adult in 1996, I pastored a church down in Rocky Ford. Man, I love that area. Just great people. Our church was about 70-something% Hispanic. They treat the pastors so good, and I gained like 30 pounds. And so But I just love ranchers and farmers. They're the lifeblood of the whole nation, not just Colorado, but they are the foundation of Colorado, always have been. Here's a big one. We've got to stop selling our water downstream. We have to stop.
We have to renegotiate that deal too, right?
Well, here's part of the deal with it. So you're talking about the 1922 compact, probably, right?
Yeah. It's up. It's up right now. It basically should have been negotiated 4 or 5 years ago. It has not.
There's 7 states involved with that, so it is going to be a little tricky to renegotiate that. But here's what I found out through some investigation was that of all of the water that is being sent downstream by the 1922 compact, first, the year that it was introduced was a season of decently wet weather. And we were, in Colorado at that time, we were seeing about 17 million acre feet of water. And then within a couple of years, that dropped down, and our average since then, with a few little different spikes, has been about 12 million acre feet. So it needs to be renegotiated on actually how much water, how wet the state is. But here's something else, is the amount of water that is supposed to be leaving the state of Colorado due to the 1920 compact, 33% more is being sent downstream because we've had people sell it downstream.
Right.
We could cut that off immediately, just boom. I don't care who sold it. I don't care what their argument was or what their contract is. We will, boom, we'll just put it to the vote of the people and say, let's cut that 33% off immediately. And now you have something to actually negotiate with, and we're keeping a lot more of our water.
I agree with you fully. More importantly, I agree that we should get to a place where the people have more control of what happens in their community, and I think you're for that. So now I get to dessert. I get to talk about Victor Marx a little bit.
Let's do this.
I do appreciate all you answering the questions. I think this is the type of conversations that people in Colorado want to have. They want to know what you're going to do when you get into office. Obviously, you'll have an administration that in large part will be pushing on some of those buttons. But more importantly, you're going to do what gives people back the authority to govern themselves. Let's play this if we could. This is you and Barb Kirkmeyer describing Victor Marx. Let's go ahead and play it. Just cut 6.
But Scott Bottoms and Barb Kirkmeyer, you have both said that you will not support Victor Marx if he is your party's nominee for governor. Mr. Bottoms, you have described Mr. Marx as a con man.
I stand by that. I also said he was corrupt, and I also said he lies, and he lied to me personally. He conned my church. I'm not okay with that, and I'm going to stand against that 100%.
How specifically did he con your church?
He came and told me that he rescued, the term he used was rescued, not gave teddy bears to, but he rescued 45,000 people in over 100 situations, 30 countries. And that was a lie.
Mr. Bottoms, thank you. Mr. Marx, your response.
You're mean. You know, this is the same rhetoric of someone who's desperate, who's already lost. And the things that he says, I can just say this: accusations without evidence is nothing more than gossip or a lie.
But the reason I have said that I will not support Mr. Marx is because, one, I mean, he is unqualified, but that's not really the reason. It's because he's unfit. By his own words, he has said he's unfit. He talks about homicidal and suicidal tendencies. Makes me a little worried about, being in rooms with him, that quite frankly. He's a fraud. He makes up these tall tales, these tall stories, and I just don't believe them. And even when you have asked him these questions directly, he just doesn't answer them.
So
you had him come speak at your church before he ran for governor.
I did. This is what got me is
and Brave Church. I mean, I can go down the line. There's been a lack. I'm gonna call you out on this a little bit, not because I'm calling you out on it, but I call everybody out on it. Is that there was a lack of discernment and a lack of just questioning it. 45,000 is the largest number. If he rescued 45,000 women and children, he would be the largest, most influential organization in the world, not just in the U.S.
Hands down. We did have him come to our church. I don't want to throw our leadership under the bus. I didn't go look for Victor. He was presented to me by some of our leadership for an event we were doing. They sent me some video clips. I looked at them. I didn't know anything about him. I saw him disarm a guy with a gun. That was about all I knew. I didn't actually know he rescued kids until he got to our church. Now, is that on me? 100%, because I'm the leader. I can't shy away from that, and I'm not going to throw our guys under the bus. because I had the chance to investigate him, and I didn't. I just kind of said, okay, if you guys think this is it, let's do this. And then when he was up on stage, I'm sitting there thinking, this guy is full of it. There's no way I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah.
And we had him and his team were going to come do our men's retreat a few months after that. And I was very uncomfortable with that. And I began, and I talked to my board about it at the time, but I didn't talk to some of the other leaders that were part of that.
Yeah.
But here's where we came to was he didn't come to our men's retreat. That was the weekend him and his brother-in-law were shooting at each other or something like that. Yeah. And so he didn't come, and I was very glad. Some of his team did. They prayed for our guys. They didn't really do these major retooling
prayer.
They didn't. It was kind of like that, but they explained to me what they were going to do, and I approved it because it wasn't what is now being described as a retooling prayer. Now I still got to own that, but I trusted him back in the day, and I thought we were friends. But that was the only time I had ever been face to face with him in any setting before or after. But like I said, while he was speaking, I'm thinking, oh no. And our team that put that event together, they were kind of like, what is with this guy, right? So, but with that, yeah, there's egg on my face there because I had him come to my service and I didn't investigate. I didn't do my homework. I don't think that's the same thing as what Brave and Trace Church are doing right now.
Yeah, I think they're walking past. Yeah, they're walking past it. They're walking past it.
Yeah, they've spent hours and hours and hours with this guy. They've personally behind the scenes, all this stuff, put him up in their church multiple times. Well, I'm sorry, and I get so many emails and calls and texts and stuff from pastors all over the state of Colorado that are saying there's 2 or 3 churches that are going to look really bad, and even groups that are interviewing him that are spiritual leader groups up in Woodland Park that are really blowing him up some too. And this is going to come back and bite them. It's something I've had to deal with, but they're constantly looking at it and not dealing with it, and so it's gonna hurt them.
You know, the difference between the conversation we're having, the conversation you have with Kyle Clark is night and day, right? Because I think that we can have the dialogue, and this is what a debate should be: have the dialogue about what really truly the people of Colorado need. And I just want to. Got to play this clip. This is a funny clip at the expense of Victor Marx. I got to have a little bit of fun. Now, I did say that Victor can come on. He can come on the show. You can come on the show. I do want to have Barb Kirkmeyer on the show. Yeah, everyone knows my endorsement is for Scott Bottoms. If you're going to vote for anyone, you should vote for Scott Bottoms. Scott Bottoms is the guy that can get the job done. More importantly, he's the guy that has ethics, morals, and he just said, hey, I was wrong. Right? That's the type of thing that never comes out of anybody else's mouth that's a politician. But check this out. This is Victor Marx. Put and play it.
Question. If your qualification to be governor is that you build good teams, what should voters make of your team's basic errors and the way you deflect responsibility?
Well, let's go to the biggest question. Did I just shit myself? Oh man, is bad.
They got March just shit.
I don't know what to make of it. I saw it online. I had to have it. Sorry, Victor. Sorry. Last thing I'll say, we need to get you a new gun.
Okay, all right.
He's going to get mad.
Okay. First, it doesn't matter what color my gun is.
it's rose gold. We gotta hand that off to Linda, bro.
It was Linda's gun. I bought it for her, and she didn't like it. She wanted a different one. I bought her the different one. She shot it probably once, and so now
we gotta get you outfitted.
I don't mind getting a different gun, but now I've kind of grown accustomed to it. Although because I know who told you all this. He's probably sitting on the other side of that window. The trigger is too hard of a pull, so I'm going to use that as a reason why I need to get something extra.
It's a minigun.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
it's a
you have the 365, the Rose.
Yes.
So that's small, 9 mil, right?
It's a 9 mil carry, is what it is.
Yeah.
So what if it's pretty?
It just doesn't. He needs something. I heard when you got the staccato in your hand, though, you actually grew 2 inches taller.
Did
right?
I?
Yeah.
That staccato was a nice gun.
That's what we need to get you.
The staccato made me
or a
look
Nighthawk.
good.
Yeah.
I think the staccato made me look better than I am. But it's a nice gun. I just can't afford a staccato.
So with that said, guys, I'm going to give the floor to Scott so he can finish up his remarks to you. I will tell you to go to scottbottoms.com. Scottbottoms.com.
Scottbottoms.com.
Scottbottoms.com. And please donate to his campaign. $5 helps all the way up to the state max. He is for Colorado, and he's been here a long time. He also served the country honorably, although it was in the Navy, so I'm not sure we can, he had a lot of air conditioning. So
I did.
which he won't apologize for. He's like, you know what, if you get the chance to get air conditioning, who'd run away from that? I certainly wouldn't. So I give it to him.
So here's my argument with the Navy. Do people pay major money to go hang out with the Army in tents in the desert on cots? No, but they will pay thousands of dollars to go on a cruise.
This is true. This is true. Scott, I'll give you the floor to kind of talk to people there. By the way, if you're out of state, you can still donate to his campaign.
Yes.
And again, I'm just asking you to support Scott. He is amazing. And I just appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we do know that we're ahead of the other two candidates, no doubt about it. Marx is crashing right now. There's no doubt. He's trying to save his ministry from all the corruption and the con allegations and all this stuff. Senator Kirkmeyer, very different from me. She is on the left side, very far left side of the Republican Party. I'm on the right. You guys, here's what's happening. We know we're in the lead on this. We know we have backing of Democrats and unaffiliated and everything. We just need you to get on board with us. Pass some videos around. Go to my website, scottbottoms.com. Forward messages that you see. We've got a whole video series having to do with the condiment caucus. You can go figure out what that is. I'll let you figure that out. We're very excited where we are. I won the assembly. We know we're headed forward.
Easily won the assembly.
Easily won the assembly by quite a few percentage points. And we're going to...
Even with 80 overvotes.
Yeah. Well, they also came back and did a hand count, and I got more votes. So I was closer to 50% when it was all said and done. So here's the thing. We are sailing like crazy. We have so many people across the state that are volunteering to be part of our teams. Jump on board. We've got a place for you. We can use you. We want to use your specific gifts and talents and abilities. And if you ever have any questions, I'm very accessible, not just to Joe, but I love answering questions. I love talking to people.
He does.
So give us a ring, give us a text, an email, do something, and please contribute. We definitely need the finances as we're moving forward. Our team is blowing it up right now. So let's reclaim Colorado for all Coloradoans.
All right. Everyone, I get to pray us out because that's how we finish the show. So I'm going to be praying for Scott right now. Scott, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very much. Appreciate you very much.
You too, buddy.
Yeah. All right. So let's pray it out. Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Tune in and more. We are on Rumble. We're now on Roku. New thing. We'll have a platform and a new app coming out, so you're going to want to participate in that. We're going to get away from the things that we're on Facebook too, just so you know, and pilled.net. Go over and check it out there. They have some great texting, great comments that they have there. And you can go to the website, untamednation.com as well. So we've got some things that obviously we didn't get to commercials today. Support dcfguns.com and go to Honorbound USA. Make sure you pick up your challenge coin and make sure you support us on the show. With that said, I get to pray us out. I get to pray for you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Father God, thank you. We just thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you for giving us the ability to restore you to our community, to our country.
Yes.
We thank you for Scott and his commitment to you, Father, and to our people, the people of Colorado and our country. Father, we are thankful for the gifts that you've bestowed upon us. We're thankful for the journeys that we've all been able to take. We're even thankful, Father, for the trials and tribulations that we have. And we're thankful for our ability to humble ourselves before any of these difficult seasons that we have in our life. And the last 6 years have been rather difficult. Father, we also recognize that we are to follow you and to do the things that are necessary in order to make sure we can restore our community, and that we're we're in that special place where we do want to set aside petty differences. We do want to get to a place where we're heading in the same direction and become mission-driven towards defeating this evil in our state. So, Father, I just ask you to put a special blessing over Scott, put a special blessing over his wife, put a special blessing over his campaign, that he can do and act as a mouthpiece for you in reaching the unreached in Colorado and to fulfill the plan of restoring what is happening in our great state and getting us back to a place where there's not as much suffering. Jesus. Father, I just ask you to give him discernment, ask you to instill with him the wisdom to lead, and to give the great state of Colorado the ability to have true leadership. We also ask, Father, that we can have the legislature of Colorado be restored to a place where we can back some of the things that have been done over the last few years that have really hurt the people of this state, and that the judges will be held to account for the things that they have done to hurt and victimize the people in this state. So, Father, we ask all these things, and we also ask you to put a special blessing over President Trump and his cabinet and his leadership, and to really just lead us in a way that we can do good and stay focused on the mission. I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We will see you soon. I know you got to get going. I took you all the way up to the time I said I wouldn't, but good to see all of you. Gammy, good to see you're back in the fold. Susan Rice, the good Susan Rice, good to see you. Always good to see you, Jeff. Thanks for the note that you sent me the other day. And Lynn, boss, I see you. MC4 Freedom, Scott Bottoms for Colorado Governor. There you go. Go to scottbottoms.com, scottbottoms.com, or you can reach him on X at scottbottomsco. That's at scottbottomsco. All right, God bless you all. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, guys.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave